So why is it so hard to stick to good behavior patterns? So we've all been there, haven't we? We wanted to improve our health, we want to improve our fitness, we want to improve ourselves in some sort of way. We set ourselves a goal and off we pop and we start moving towards it. We use our willpower and use our motivation to try and stick to something. But slowly, after a little bit of time, we might miss a workout, we might miss a meal, we might miss something, or maybe time isn't on our side, and we'll slowly start slipping back into old and previous behaviours. And before you know it, you're straight back to square one, and you're thinking, yeah, again, it's happened to me again. I've tried to do the right thing, and here we go. And we replay that narrative in our minds. And that's the stories that we usually tell ourselves. And this goes really deep in our minds. And we do tell ourselves these stories. But the question is there anything we can do to stop this? Is there anything that we can do to change that narrative? And ultimately, why is it so bloody hard, with all the right intention, to get after it and stick to positive behaviour change? So last week we spoke about understanding our why. Now this is really crucial. This actually works really nicely hand in hand with this. So if you haven't watched that video yet, I'd jump in the description, either watch this after this, or pause this and watch it and then come back and watch this. It's up to you. But understanding our why really helps a long way into this. And the other reason I'm going to explain now why our behavior change is so difficult to change. And that's because changing our behavior is actually a humongous emotional and energy cost to us. The reason why it's such an emotional cost to us is because back in the day, a long time ago, when we sort of like cut about in caves and stuff, what would happen is social status is really important then. It's kind of important now. It's not as important as it was back then, because it really mattered to life or death, but we don't really understand it. All we understand is this idea of status change. So for example, like if we set ourselves up to do something, if we go out and try and achieve a goal, and we don't achieve that goal, then our social status, we will perceive that it will actually start dipping down. So what we'll do is we'll set up barriers that are in our way, so it's more comfortable for us to fail. So the first thing we need to do is remove those barriers, overcome those barriers, and those emotional barriers, become fearless. Don't worry about failing, be accepting to fail, and then we can move on. The second part to this is just thinking. Like, it's a humongous amount of energy that it takes just to think. So it takes 20%, roughly about 20% of our calorific intake per day just to sort of get through it, just through thinking. And it's over like 300 calories per day that we use just to operate on our daily lives. So we are in a time right now where we can just sort of go down to Tesco, go down to Asda or whatever and get calories. But once upon a time, we had to work really hard for our calories. So so our perception of a calorie and an energy source is really quite a crucial thing. So our brain, our circuitry, is actually designed in a way that will make and create shortcuts in order for us to save energy, a little bit like this. So basically what happens is, let's move that away. So basically what happens is, once we start thinking about something, and this happens all of the time. So when we start, every action that we do and every thought pattern that we have all starts like this. So basically what happens is, we might start here, anywhere, it doesn't really matter. I mean, obviously this isn't like a thing, this is just something I've ripped off Canva, but anyway, it will serve its purpose. So each of these little blobs is what you call a synapse, and each one of these is a connection. So we might start thinking about making a little connection here, and then that's going to connect over here, and that's going to connect over there, that's going to connect over here, and that's going to connect there. And this little system might be like a really nice shortcut for us to save energy. Now, when you first lay down this system, it will just be a nice fine line. But over time, and the more you repeat these behaviors, these systems get thicker and deeper, okay? And they become stronger and stronger and stronger. This is designed to save us energy. So when we do something, we don't have to think as hard about it. So when you first start learning to drive, everything's just super difficult, like changing gears, using the clutch, using the accelerator, braking at the right distance, turning right, turning left, all these things, it's absolute chaos. But then after a few years of driving, I know I've done this, when I've been driving along and I've been going home and I'm just on autopilot. And before I know it, I'm like, oh, I'm home. How the hell did that happen? And that's because this neural circuitry has basically taken us to. So when we want to change our behavior, we have to start a different way. We have to basically sort of like recalibrate this, if you like, or create some new circuitry. So what might happen is, so we might start, let's say we start at the same point and we might need to go over here. Now if you see this blue line, it's not as thick as the red line. Okay, so we might want to change and do this. Then we might have to go back over here. Then we might have to go over here, and then we're going to end up over here. But basically, as this happens, because this isn't a tried, true, and tested way, our body will always prioritize the path best trodden. And the reason for it wants to save energy. So it's a huge energy expenditure cost to us to forge new patterns. So when we decide that we want to lose weight and tone up as a goal, because that's all of our goals, whenever, you know, in the fitness industry, like I've been in, that's like the number one thing. People come in and want to lose weight and tone up. And if you think about it, you're going to be going to the gym and basically going to burning more energy. And then we're also going to be doing some, if we're not careful, most boot camps do this, a hard calorie deficit cut. So at some point, it's just going to implode. And when it implodes, all our behaviors completely go out of the window. In order for this to work, we need to be really cautious about where we use our energy, and we need it to work for us. This doesn't happen from just a mental standpoint. This can happen from a physical standpoint. So when we learn a new skill, when we physically learn something, it just feels a bit weird and a bit wrong, and it's quite hard to move. But after a while, it becomes second nature to us. Likewise, if you're playing a sport or you're lifting weights or whatever, and you stop for a while, you come away and you come back, and then after a couple of sessions, you're straight back into it. You're like, hey, I feel like I've lost strength, but all of a sudden in 2 weeks, I've kind of gained it all back. It's not that. It's just the neurons have actually started firing again, because if they aren't used, they just kind of switch off. So you might be thinking that some of this energy saving stuff is going to be really, really good, but the reality is we need to be quite diligent about this, because some of this energy saving stuff doesn't necessarily always serve us. So for example, our responses to other people, our environment, stress and things like that have an effect. How we've learned, so this is learnt behaviors, and how we deal with those behaviors might turn out to be procrastination or something like emotional eating to cope with the stress and the demands or whatever it is. So you might find yourself getting hungry at certain times, or wanting a certain snack at a certain time, or after a certain meeting you might do a certain collection of actions. Now these are learned behaviors. So to unlearn those behaviors, we have to go through and create new thought patterns. To unlearn those behaviors, we need to go through and learn new thought patterns. And we have to keep on, basically be really diligent about learning and creating these new thought patterns until they become as strong, and if not stronger, than our previous thought pattern. And we have to be super, super diligent about this. And it's hard. It's really, really hard, because our minds don't want us to do this. It will come up with all sorts of tricks to stop us from burning this energy. So for example, if you want to go to the gym, our body will go, oh, we don't really want to do this. We don't want to do this because we're burning energy, and energy is precious. Our body hasn't figured out yet that there's a Tesco around the corner. So it'll go, well, you're kind of tired. You've had a hard day. You've done this, and it'll play tricks on us in order for us to stop. And these learned behaviors, these learned systems are keeping us from progressing forward. What can we realistically do to improve and actually start getting after the blue line, okay? Well, there's a couple of things we can do. We can use visualization, but we have to be really diligent about this, and we have to be really specific about it, and we have to think deeply about this visualization, because what you're doing is you're going to create fresh neurological pathways in your mind that won't be able to recognize the difference between thought and actually doing it. So for example, a visualization might be like, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to work out, and you might you need to think about it in like obscene detail, and you can repeat this like 100,000 times. Maybe not 100,000 times, but you can repeat this like 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times if you wanted to. And then in your mind, you've done it 10,000 times. So when you go ahead and actually do it, it's actually a lot easier. And that's how visualization works. And this can be transferred not just from fitness, but a whole range of other skills. The second thing we can try and do is set ourselves up to win. Winning is exceptionally motivating to us. Again, the link is in the description on that. I can't remember which one it is. I'll make a little star next to it. You'll see it. But setting ourselves up to winning is exceptionally motivating to us. If we win, we're more likely to want to do it again. Then there's actually doing it. We just need to understand. We need to understand that this is going on, And we need to basically tell ourselves and be disciplined with ourselves and be very firm with ourselves and say, no, these are the actions that we're taking at this time, or after this action. This is a sequence, this is a new sequence of events, and you have to be strict by it. If we start being lax on this, we're going to simply slip back into old habits, okay? So we've got to be diligent about it. But the most important thing that you absolutely can do is tell yourself the right story. In order for the outcomes to occur, we need to take appropriate action. In order to take appropriate action, we need to have our set behaviors, appropriate behaviors. In order to create appropriate behaviors, these are the behaviors, we need to tell ourselves the right stories. It all comes down to the stories that we tell ourselves. We are what we say we are. If we can satisfy the stories that we tell ourselves, which have an impact on our behaviors, will simply do the right actions, which will deliver the right results. If we satisfy all of these, then we're going to get the right results. It sounds very simple, but from what I've just explained, it's actually a lot harder, and we have to use discipline, and we have to be exceptionally resilient to basically success and failure, because it's not an easy road. And this is why I've created the Resilient Life. The Resilient Life is a community of individuals that are on the same path. They want to improve something within their lives. They want to improve their health. They want to improve their fitness. They want to improve this mindset. And I understand that this is not just a 1 week, 1 month road. This is a long, long road, and you need other people around you, because if you have other people around you, you're more likely to succeed. So if you want to check out the Resilient Life, that link is going to be in the description. And so just check it out. And if you want to join us, then come ahead and join us. We're going to be here. It's going to be full of people just trying to level up. Anyway, I hope that goes into some way of explaining why behavior change is such a difficult thing to do. If you're coming up against barriers and you feel like you're not getting over them, that's cool. Just change a couple of things. Either really inspect the stories that we're telling ourselves, set yourself up better to win, and try the visualization and see how that works for you. Okay? Anyway, that's that video for today. I did actually plan to do this in like a really, really cool way. I was going to go down to the beach and sort of use the sand to sort of like basically draw this out, but then it rained, and I've only got like a certain window to get this filming done. So there you go. Anyway, right, catch you next week. Brand new video next week. Good luck with that. Any issues, anything you want to drop in, comments below. See you later.